Hey guys, today we are going to return to our coverage. I find that there are a lot of things that I still want to go over. One of them being the decision for bankruptcy. Now, I'm only going to talk about US law. My first actual law case in law school was a bankruptcy case, a real bankruptcy case. It was two elderly individuals and they bought a print store. The manager essentially, according to my clients, they ran them out of town. They hired family members, and you're going to see this a lot in bankruptcy. But that was a fascinating look at like how does a business fall apart and what are the potential repercussions of filing for bankruptcy. Now that was a business bankruptcy that also eventually became a personal bankruptcy. Here it is a personal bankruptcy due to a lawsuit. All of this information I'm going to talk about is going to be about the US. I don't really care about Australia, to be honest with you, and most of my subscribers are not in Australia. I'm using this as a hook to get you guys to watch so I can teach you about bankruptcy, when to declare it, what are, and when. So, number one, the first thing has to be decided is do you want to declare bankruptcy? Right? That's number one. Like before we just talk about the repercussions of bankruptcy, what are the key considerations? So when bankruptcy might be the right choice, you are overwhelmed with unsecured debt, credit card, medical bills, payday loans, and can't realistically pay off. Debt collectors are suing you, garnishing wages, or threatening to repossess property. You're using credit cards to pay for basics like rent or groceries. You tried debt settlement or consolidation, but still can't keep it up. So before you do bankruptcy, one thing that you got to look at is maybe you can go to each of these individuals and say, hey, I can only pay you pennies on the dollar, but that's a lot better than if I bankrupt myself. So in Karl Jobst's case, did he go to Billy Mitchell and say, hey, Billy Mitchell, I'm going to declare bankruptcy. I don't want to declare bankruptcy because it's going to affect me for the next 2 to 3 years and maybe even longer. It'll be on my permanent record. Here's a lump sum of cash. Here is a payment plan. I don't know if Karl did that. I think Karl did offer a lump sum, but that was, I believe, rejected by Billy Mitchell, and rightfully so. But I would have, many times the correct organization of that would be a lump sum and then a payment plan. So before you declare bankruptcy, you want to at least go to your debtors, the people who you owe money, and credit carders, and they might forgive it. They might take 10 cents on the dollar because they understand how expensive bankruptcy will be. So you personally never want to bankrupt yourself because people are just not going to do business with you. Like I'm a business owner. If I bankrupt and I owe all people money and vendors money, it's not a good reputation. One example of this would be a card game called MetaZoo. It was essentially a clone of Pokemon. It just emerged from bankruptcy. The new owners paid $2 million for it, and no one plays the game. No one likes the game because there were so many game stores that were owed money. There were so many players. They had a $50,000 player tournament where they didn't end up paying the winner a single dime, right? So then how am I sure that when you have a new tournament, you're going to pay the prizes when you have not done so in the past? They had a lot of pre-orders. They were not paid. So bankruptcy, by going to bankruptcy, you are losing all the goodwill that you built up, right? This is personally, and this is, of course, as a business. So before you do that, you might want to try to settle or offer a payment plan. You don't have significant assets like a house with lots of equity that you'll lose in the process. So these are the reasons that bankruptcy would make sense. And here's the reasons that you, in the US, that you don't want to bankrupt. Your debt is mostly student loans, recent taxes, or child support, which will not be wiped out. So you declare bankruptcy for no reason, and your loans are still there, accumulating interest this entire time. You have valuable property you don't want to risk losing. Your income is too high, and you'll be forced into a long-term Chapter 13 repayment plan you can't afford. You haven't tried other relief options, like nonprofit credit counseling or negotiating with creditors. Again, bankruptcy should be the last. you should really try to negotiate. Karl Jobst should really have tried better to negotiate with Billy Mitchell. I know, that video certainly doesn't help. My opinion of this whole situation had been Karl Jobst was imagine that you're in a lawsuit with somebody and you're trying to settle with them, and Billy Mitchell is the type of person who would settle. How do we know this? Because he's settled legitimately every other case. Karl has that very famous slideshow he made where it shows that in every case that Billy Mitchell could settle that was not dismissed, he did settle, right? Billy Mitchell is not the type of person who wants to go to verdict, who wants to go to trial. He would rather have an apology and settle, just like the Friendly Jordy situation we talked about. Karl Jobst, after losing, then made another video, blame shifting. It's just wild, taking almost no accountability for his own defamatory actions. Look, you lost, but a settlement is still available because at the end of the day, Billy Mitchell got what he wanted. He probably will be reasonable. You can probably give him a sum of money and then maybe a payment plan that was never included. In my opinion, it's always got to include a payment plan because that would indicate that, hey, you punished me longer than just this payment. I don't know where the money for settlement was going to come from Karl Jobst, but I would not be surprised if it came from Notch. So it would almost be like from Billy Mitchell's perspective, I went to battle with you for 4 years, I won, but you endured no pain. You just used other people's money and crowdfunded money, and now you're scot-free. Bankruptcy is not that way. Bankruptcy will stick with you for life. I know there's a bankruptcy period, but everyone and their grandmother knows Karl Jobst bankrupt himself, and therefore you should not do business with him because, God forbid, he bankrupt when you have a business. So in America, there are 2 types of bankruptcy. Chapter 7, liquidation. It wipes out most debts, but you lose non-exempt property. Chapter 13, reorganization, which I like better. It's a 3 to 5 year repayment plan, typically used to catch up on mortgage or car payments. So remember, these people who have debt, they don't actually want you to just lose everything, right? They would just rather have money. At the end of the day, in many of these situations, the difference between Billy Mitchell and Karl Jobst is that there's such animosity coming from Karl Jobst. There's such hatred coming from him. He just can never come to settlement. But in many of these other cases, it's a car dealership. They have probably at any given times 30, 40, 50 outstanding loans on leases that they are not collecting. And so it's not personal, it's just business. And that's the way it should be. Can we conclude a amount of money that is more than you would like to pay, Karl, but less than I would receive, less than I should have received otherwise? So both parties have to endure some pain. Karl does not want to take responsibility, and he does not want to endure any pain. So he thinks bankruptcy is the best option for him, which I will tell you it is not. At least in the US, it is not. So what are the negatives? So let's say you decide to go bankrupt in the US. Your credit score is very important in the US. Your credit score will drop significantly, especially if it's decent right now. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy will stay on your credit report for 10 years and 13 for 7 years. You may struggle to get approved for credit, loans, or favorable rates, or at least for the first few years. Impact on property and assets. Chapter 7, you could lose non-exempt property like a second car or valuable collectibles. My Pokemon collection. Chapter 13, you keep the property, but you must repay some debt through a court-supervised plan. State exemption laws decide what you can keep. Example, your home, cars, tools of your trade. If you have a business and you're a plumber, you get to keep your plumbing tools, right? They want you to pay off the loan. And no case scenario is people saying, hey, I just want to ruin your life, right? They want you to pay off the loan. Effect on credit and loans. Getting a new credit card is harder at first, but secured credit cards or subprime loans might be available. Mortgage lenders will typically make you wait 2 to 4 years after a bankruptcy to approve a home loan. Interest rates will be higher initially. Legal and personal consequences. Bankruptcy is a public record, and it may show up on a bank background check. Example for jobs involving money. Some employers or landlords might view this as negatively, but discrimination for filing is illegal in many contexts. It won't eliminate all debts like student loans, alimony, child support, recent tax debt, or criminal fines. The upside of bankruptcy, it stops collections, lawsuits, wage garnishments, and foreclosure immediately via the automatic stay. Discharges most unsecured debt so you can start fresh, you can rebuild credit. Some people see improvement within 12 to 18 months if they use credit responsibly. Bankruptcy will give you a chance to reset, but it is a major move with long-term effects. It's best for people who truly can't repay and are overwhelmed. So at any point in time, if you can repay, you should at least try a repayment plan. Because bankruptcy is, again, and you might be like, oh, I'm a Karl fan. I don't care if he bankrupts himself 10 times over. But some people do. And this is what a bankruptcy is. It is when you don't want to repay, you lost in court, you don't want to pay whatever the court. So when you entered court, you were happy and you were making jokes about taking Billy Mitchell's car and his hot sauce business because you thought you would win. Now, and you would worry, oh, Billy will hide his assets, but I'm smarter than that. Like, so when you ironically lose in court, and then you're the one who has to do bankruptcy, it is a very strange kind of parallel, and it will rub people the wrong way. And I know I get this comment a lot on this video. It's like, oh, he's doing fine. Bankruptcy, I've seen the inside of a bankruptcy case. I've seen how it affects two elderly individuals. Their sons and daughters are super mad. How could you waste your retirement on this? We're not going to support you anymore. Bankruptcy breaks families. Bankruptcy destroys relationships. Bankruptcy has a serious mental health impact that you can only imagine. It's not you going through bankruptcy. It's Karl Jobst and his family. Bankruptcy is forever. No, bankruptcy will follow Karl Jobst until the end of time, because once you file for bankruptcy, you filed for bankruptcy. And there is going to be some people who don't like that. There is going to be some people who would have done business with you, would have promoted or would have been a sponsor of yours, and they're going to choose not to. I mean, based on Karl's choice of sponsors, I don't really think it will affect them that much, right? Microtransactions and things like that of that nature. But nonetheless, you do have a scenario where bankruptcy is always the last resort, right? Like, you need to work on a settlement. You need to work on a settlement payment plan, and it will help Billy Mitchell because he'll collect more money. But you cannot do that when you constantly make videos attacking Billy Mitchell. This is why Karl Jobst at no point in time settled. Friendly Jordies, guess what? He stopped making videos on that guy. As soon as he stopped making videos on that guy, do you know what happened? They settled. Karl continues, and even until this day, until even recently, continues to make videos smacking Billy Mitchell, even though he's lost. Just settle, man. Just agree to a payment plan, apologize, just like Friendly Jordies, and it's over. Bankruptcy will tail Karl for at least the next 2 to 3 years, if not for his whole life. Anyway, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video. Want more coverage on the bankruptcy. There are a lot new updates. A lot of new court documents have come down. Give this video a thumbs up. If it gets 100 likes, we'll continue with the bankruptcy arc. It's kind of like an anime. We're in the bankruptcy arc now.